Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for World Trigger Episode 3. Okay, and this episode starts off right where it left off, and we get a little lesson from Yuma. He essentially tells us that Marmods are Trion soldiers that are built for combat. Okay, and from there you can kind of insinuate that there are Trion soldiers that are built for different reasons to specialize in different areas. Okay, for instance, he says that Bamsters are built for catching. So it looks like my hypothesis about the missing people from last week may be right. Okay, but anyway, Yuma starts to explain just how outmatched Osamu is to try and dissuade him from going out and fighting. He says that if the only way he could actually beat a Marmot is if there were 20 Osamus, and even then, 18 of them would die. So, yeah. he's pretty outmatched, okay? And Osamu, he actually thinks about asking Yuma for help, but then he realizes how contradictory it would be, because last week he was just saying nonstop, don't use your powers, don't do this, don't do that, don't do anything to stand out, don't do this, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. So he can't just right after saying that all of a sudden say, oh, now it's okay, because I need you to do it, you know? He doesn't want to be a hypocrite. Although later in the episode he kind of is, because just like how right now Yuma was telling him not to go and Osamu decided to go anyway, Osamu was trying to tell Yuma not to do anything, and Yuma said like, hey, you told me, I told you not to do it and you did anyway, so I'm gonna ignore you just like you ignored me. Okay, so that was kind of funny. But anyway, Osamu ends up going in alone, and we see Chica, and we get actually some foreshadowing of her past and her backstory, which, again, Chica does not show up this early, okay? She does not show up this early. Alright, so anytime you see Chica here, like, I'll let you know when Chica's official introduction is. Like, once we get to where she was actually introduced in the manga, then I'll let you know. But this is all stuff that they're adding in. Toei, I mean. Which I don't blame them for. I like what they're doing, foreshadowing this stuff. Which is like, it's not like they're just making stuff up like that those people who we saw in those brief flashbacks are like real characters in the story. Like, it's not like this is just made up. They're just bringing it up sooner and doing it as foreshadowing rather than as an actual reveal like it was done in the manga later on. Okay, because in the manga this stuff wasn't foreshadowed. It was just like, boom, there you go. So now they're foreshadowing it. So that's good. But anyway, Osamu goes in, and he actually manages to push one of the Marmods out of the window, which is better than you would think he'd do. But pushing it out the window didn't destroy it, as we found out later on, because it came back inside to attack Yuma. Alright? But Osamu, he's trying to fight this other one, and he gets his arm cut off. Alright? And we see these green particles coming out the side. And this is just censorship. In the manga, the way it happened was the arm got cut off, and you could see there was no blood, but you could see bone and like muscle and like tissue and crap. And then after that, that's when the mist stuff started coming out. Then after a while, it just stopped, and then you would just see like the bone and the tissue and stuff like that. All right. So them just showing these like green particles and stuff, that was mostly censorship on their part. But them doing that did make it more clear that that is not his real arm. Okay, as Replica ends up mentioning later on in the episode, it's a Trion body. Okay, and as Osamu himself actually ends up explaining, a trigger exchanges the physical body with a body made of Trion that's made specifically for combat. Okay, and his Trion body got destroyed, just dominated. He got stabbed in the stomach, and it was done. He was done. Okay, he was done. Like this, like he could not hold up that transformation any longer. He was done. Okay, Arashiyama squad, they actually got sent over to help. All right, and we see them heading over there. And Yuma, he decided to help as well, so he shows up, and he actually uses Osamu's trigger in order to transform. Okay, so because he didn't want border to figure out that, oh yeah, his trigger was the one that was activated. They wanted to actually be able to leave a record that no, it was specifically this dude's trigger that was activated, and they would of course assume that it was Osamu who activated it, when in reality it was Yuma, right? And what this shows is that it's not. It shows that it's not necessarily the case that a trigger is made specifically for one person. Okay, a trigger is a trigger. All right. While Yuma's outfit was different though, because Osamu's was white and Yuma's was black, but that black outfit was different than the one he had in episode 1, because in this episode Yuma had the border uh, logo on his shoulder just like Osamu did. So the outfit is different. Um, Also, another thing worth pointing out, which it was clear from watching the episode, um, but Osamu's trigger is actually weaker than Yuma's, like big time. Like Yuma's trigger is better. As Osamu pointed out, he has a trainee trigger. Okay, so the trigger is weaker than Yuma's. However, Yuma is just stronger than Osamu when he has more Trion. Okay, so he's like Osamu was sitting here thinking that Yuma was going to fail as badly as he did because the trigger is weaker. However, that's not the case because Yuma's strength was able to push up the quality. Okay, let's say that. Like Yuma powers up the trigger, but the trigger powers Yuma down. So while Yuma wasn't as strong as he usually is, the trigger itself was stronger than it usually is. Okay, so it's like a little balance there, like an average, like a mathematical mean almost. Okay, like an average, right? They evened each other out and they met in the middle. Okay, that's pretty much what that is. All right. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning is the fact that because trainee triggers exist, that means that there have to be different types of triggers. Like I mean, like different ranks. I mean, like you have these trainee triggers. Well, those must be different than the ones that like Arashiyama and Yuma and Aikitora are using, right? So they're different, obviously. So there are different ranks. We just don't know what those ranks are. Um, Miwa in the beginning of episode 2 mentioned something about the person who defeated the neighbor being A rank. So I would assume that that's either referring to Yuma's ability or the trigger itself. And Osamu is C rank, which is a trainee. So it's safe to assume that there's a B rank as well. So is there something above A? Is there something below C? Um, that has yet to be discovered. In the anime, that is. In the manga, I already know. I'm just, like, as usual, I'm pretending to not know what the answer to my own questions are, for the sake of not spoiling people. Alright. But anyway, Yuma ends up destroying both Marmods. Okay. He destroys both, including the one that was pushed outside, but then comes back in. He beats that one too. Alright. And this is when Replica officially reveals himself to Osamu. Alright, he explains what Trion is, or Trion, or whatever. It's this biological energy that every person has in their body. It's what powers triggers. Triggers run using Trion. And it's created with the Trion gland, which is kind of stupid. Okay, like it really is. You're telling me that there's this invisible gland next to the heart, and literally no one found out about it until like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, you serious? Like, like has no one ever had surgery in the area around their heart? Like I'm no, I'm no. Like that's just stupid, right? It really is stupid. A Trion gland, an invisible organ next. Nah, nah, that's stupid. Okay, that's just really freaking stupid. Um, but luckily for the series, the Trion gland is not some important thing. It's just, whatever. You can just throw it away after this and completely forget about the fact that that thing exists because it is completely irrelevant. Well, yeah, screw it. Nah, it's not. Nah, it's not relevant. I was thinking about a couple things, but those two aren't the same. No, like the relay center and the no, it's not the same. Right? Screw it. No, Trion gland. Who cares about the Trion gland? Forget about it. Just like I did, because before this episode aired, I had completely forgotten that the Trion gland existed because I pushed it out of my mind because it is irrelevant. Okay, screw it. Screw it. It doesn't make sense. Screw it. That's it. Done. Done. Forget about it. All right. But anyway, rep. Anyway, Replica goes on to state that just like how humans have differences in physical capabilities, they also have differences in the amount of Trion that they produce. Okay, so Yuma has more Trion than Osamu, therefore Yuma was able to do more with the C rank trigger than Osamu was. Alright. And yeah, that's it. They go and they leave. They head out to where all the others are, and Osamu gets put on this pedestal, which was actually kind of funny because he's like, he knows he didn't do it, but all the other kids think he did, and Yuma is like just going crazy trying to make people believe that it really was Osamu. He's like acting it out like, oh, he did this and then he did that and then he shish kebab this one neighbor or Marmot, I mean neighbor. Like he had to realize that people don't know about him knowing about neighbors, so he had to pretend to just, instead of calling it what it actually is, he had to like dumb himself down and call it a neighbor. When in reality, it's more specifically, it's a Marmot Trion soldier, which is not a neighbor, but a soldier created by neighbors. So yeah, he had to like dumb himself down so that people didn't realize that he knew information that a normal person would not know. Okay, Osamu's not a normal person. Even he didn't know about freaking Marmods and Bamsters and crap and Trion soldiers. All right, so even I'm sure the people like Aikitora and Arashiyama, Miwa, I'm sure like people like that probably. Oh, maybe not. Who knows? Not a big deal. It doesn't really matter. The point is that this was funny. This was just funny. It was just funny. All right. But lastly, Arashiyama squad shows up. Okay, and everyone's fanboying over them because it's Arashiyama squad. They're practically celebrities in Mikado City, right? Because they do all like this press and stuff for Border, so everybody knows them. All right. And they get there and they ask who it is that took out the neighbors, the Trion soldiers, but whatever. And Osamu steps forward and he tells us that he actually broke the rules. So for all the stuff he was saying about Yuma not using his trigger, he's not supposed to be using his trigger either, because C rank trainees in Border are not they're not allowed. They are prohibited from using their triggers outside of Border HQ. Okay, but he did anyway. And Arashiyama doesn't mind because he helped save the school. As far as they're concerned, he did save the school, including his siblings. Arashiyama's siblings were there. So as far as Arashiyama is concerned, it's not a big deal. But Aikitora, she does actually care. And she even goes as far as cutting up the neighbor even more than Yuma did to show that she's just not impressed by the job that he did. The job that Osamu did. Alright. But yeah, she comes up and says that she thinks he should be punished because, well, she didn't actually go into detail, but it's safe to assume that she just is one of those types that doesn't like rules being broken. She knows what the consequences of rules being broken are and thinks that they should just do what they're supposed to do. Alright. But we'll get more into Aikitora next week. As you can tell from the preview, she sticks around, so yeah. I'm looking forward to that because I actually like Aikitora's character a lot. She's pretty legit. But anyway, that's it. All right, that's it for this episode. Overall, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was cool. The pedestal, Osamu being put on that pedestal was funny. Arashiyama squad's cool. Yuma taking out the 2 Marmods is cool. Osamu stepping up and trying to take them out, but then coming to the realization that he was just completely, totally screwed. All that was cool. So yeah, I'll give the episode a 7 out of 10, and that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.